This pandemic presents an opportunity for a permanent change in major gifts. That change is, how do we evaluate major gift officers and major gift programs? In today's podcast, Richard and I discuss why the old metrics have led to transactional donor gifts. And instead, we will present a new way to evaluate major gift officers that promote building authentic relationships with donors. What you evaluate is what you do. Find out the new way to evaluate major gift programs and turn a transactional program into one of transformation.
Welcome to the Nothing But Major Gifts podcast from Veritas Group, featuring Richard Perry and Jeff Schreifels. Twice a month, we bring you the latest and best thinking about major gift fundraising, so you can develop authentic relationships with your major donors. Here are your hosts, Richard and Jeff.
Hi, this is Jeff Schreifels, and I have Richard Perry with me. Richard, we have a lot to talk about today as we're both fired up about the great results we're seeing from the major gift officers on our team that we've been working with. And we're right in the middle of this pandemic, and they're doing awesome work.
Oh, I know, Jeff. I mean, it is really, really gratifying to hear all the stories. I mean, from Veritas staff who are working with MGOs and how the donors are giving. Yeah. And even better, how it's a major gift program that's either holding steady, on revenue, or even bringing in more than what they budgeted. So, I mean, that's just it's so comforting to hear that.
It is. And it's no surprise. I mean, it's the process they're following. This Veritas Way stuff that we've been talking about over and over works. In fact, Richard, I got a call from one of our clients. He's the development director. And he called me to thank me. And he says, Jeff, last year when we came on board and we started to put this structure together, and we've got these major gift officers now with portfolios, they've got plans, they've got goals, they're tiering everything. He said, we would not have been prepared for this pandemic. We would have been in utter chaos. Now, I mean, this pandemic has come. It's like it's not even fazed them. I mean, they're all working from their homes and everything, but they've got a plan. And, we tweaked it a little bit and everything, but this thing works. So it's amazing. And, I want to get into this from a different angle today, Richard. You and I, we've been talking about this, but this pandemic crisis we find ourselves in, it really does present an opportunity to completely change how nonprofits evaluate major gift performance. Because really, if you think about it, it's what we evaluate as to what we do. Like if, we know this in fundraising, like say an event department or team, if they're only evaluated on gross revenue for every event, they're going to be really protective of donors. And so that's why you have major gift teams fighting with event teams, right?
Yep, exactly.
They don't want to give up their donors because that's what they're evaluated on. It's ridiculous.
I know. And that's why we want to just talk about this. I mean, you're right about all of this, Jeff. I mean, this whole pandemic, it is a very negative thing, and it's very depressing.
Yeah.
And it's very troubling, but it's also a gift in a lot of ways, because it brings us an opportunity. And I just want to point out something about what that opportunity is. We don't want to just pivot, and that's a word that's kind of been thrown out a lot lately.
Everyone's talking about pivoting.
Yeah, just pivot during this crisis. But the thing about the word pivoting is it implies that once the crisis is over, people just go back to the way we did things before. No, we're actually talking about permanently changing how major gifts is evaluated, and that's a very, very critical difference in terms of what we're saying needs to happen in the nonprofit industry.
That's right. So let's talk about what we mean by this whole metrics thing. So we all know that major gift programs around the country, typically, it's all been about getting the money, right? That's just a fact. We know this because we've surveyed out there how people view major gifts. And
well, I mean, everywhere we go, Jeff, when we do the analysis of the donor files and you actually see these caseloads of donors.
Yeah.
Now, these are the precious best donors of an organization. And we see that the value from those same donors from year to year is going down, 40 to 60%.
Yeah.
You got to say, this is not working, folks.
Yeah.
Not working.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really, it's all about getting the money. And we really believe that's because of these 9 metrics that most major gift officers and major gift programs are evaluated on. So let's talk about these 9 metrics. We'll just go through them. So one is total dollars raised. Another one is number of face-to-face visits a month. I mean, I have story after story of this kind of thing. Number of asks.
Even though the donor doesn't want to meet with you.
So
we're just kind of.
Right. So number of face-to-face. And then it's the number of asks. Mm-hmm. So this is a metric, got to have the number of asks, number of gifts closed. Of the ask, what's the gift ask to close ratio?
Close rate, yeah.
Number of stewardship calls, number of prospects identified.
That one's particularly irritating.
Yeah, because it takes them off donors into trying to find people who are not even part of their, portfolio.
Exactly. Yep.
Number of discovery calls made. That runs into the same number of like prospect things. Number of cold calls made.
Yeah, same prospect thing.
And then finally, number of moves. This is in our industry right now. This is what major gift officers are evaluated on.
Well, it's some of the people that have been the thought leaders for years and years and years, for the last 15, 20 years, are basically saying this. I mean, like, for instance, on that face-to-face thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you quote one of the major thought leaders in the country on major gifts who says 80% of the whole effort of getting the gift, 80% of getting the gift is getting the meeting.
Yeah.
And that is actually not true.
No.
Like, really? It's just interesting to me. I mean, like you said earlier, this is what's driving the behavior of the major gift officer out in the field.
That's right.
And which is why they're experiencing so much failure, and why major gift officers are burned out, Jeff. Yeah. I mean, because like it's almost a futile exercise. Like, why are we even doing this stuff?
It gets us really angry, especially when we're out there talking to major gift officers and we say to them, "Hey, what's your big challenge right now?" And every time we do this and we talk to major gift officers, they say, well, we've got to meet these metrics. And, I've got to meet with 25 of my donors per month. That's a goal I have to hit. And what happens, this is them just talking candidly. They're saying what happens then at the end of the month, I got a week left in the month. I'm trying to get meetings with people people I know are not ready for a gift, I shouldn't be meeting with, but I just want to say, I want to tick it off. Mm-hmm. And so that's not meaningful. We've been talking about for years, meaningful connections. And when you're just talking about trying to meet a metric like face to face, your gaze is taken off the wrong thing. It's not about building a relationship. It's about now ticking off a box so I don't get in trouble with my boss.
Well, I mean, one major gift officer, I'll never forget this, put on his report that he'd met with 6 donors on his caseload. Yeah. And when we dig into it, what happened is he'd invited them to an event. And so they were present at it. All 6 of them were present at this event. And he counted that as a face-to-face meeting. I mean, that was so interesting.
But you can't blame them.
It misses the whole point, doesn't it?
I know, really, but you can't blame them because that's what they're evaluated on. Exactly. And if the manager allows it, then it's just promoting bad behavior from major gift officers.
Yes, it does. Which is why we have to get back to what the real
exactly
metric should be.
So let's talk about that, because really the major gift officer's focus is supposed to be on building a relationship. And when you do that, the money becomes the result rather than the objective. And so we believe there's 3 metrics, just 3 really, that if we followed those, we would build those relationships and focus on the right things. And so here's what they are: total dollars raised, creating meaningful connections, and then working your plan. That's it.
Yeah. Well, and those are the big ones. Now, I would say on this working the plan business, that inside that working the plan metric, are you working the plan? It assumes that the major gift officer is actually planning, knows what the passions and interests of the donor are, knows what the communication preferences are, actually has planned to ask, because that's in the plan.
Right.
And actually has planned to steward.
That's right.
I mean, we bury that number of asks, number of stewardship metric inside the working of the plan business.
That's right.
Just to clarify, because someone would say, well, what do you mean you're not tracking, asks and stewardship? Well, yeah, we are. But the big thing is are they in the plan, and are they personalized to the donor?
That's right. So you expounded on a little bit what that means by having a strategic plan for every donor. Mm-hmm. But what does it mean by, why don't you talk about total dollars raised and expound a little bit more on what we mean by that?
Well, total dollars raised is what we're basically saying is a major gift officer has a qualified caseload of donors, which means these are donors.
Yeah.
That he or she has actually reached out to, and they've said that they want to connect personally. That's a very important thing. Once you've arrived at that list of donors, let's say there's 150 of them, they're attaching goals to each of those donors, and the sum of those goals is the actual dollar raised goal.
Yeah.
And so that's what it means when we say, total dollars raised. What we mean is, how are you doing against that goal you set for every donor, and the sum of all of those donors that basically equals the sum of the total of your caseload goal for the financial period. That's right. What we mean by that.
Yeah, because if you just looked at total revenue from the portfolio, you could have had one donor who gave $1 million, and then you're not looking at all the individuals, and you're missing out, because then you might see a lot of donor value attrition.
I know we had. I'll never forget this, Jeff. This major gift officer who had a portfolio. The total portfolio was about $1.2 million.
Yeah, and
during the year, she was surprised by the fact that a donor gave $1 million. And this was a surprise. It was kind of windfall of business was sold, or I don't know what it was. And she says to me, well, I guess I can stop working now. I've reached my goal. I said, no. If you actually take that donor out of your portfolio, you're only at 47% of goal for all the rest of the donors. So that's a perfect example of how one gift covered up the rest of the portfolio. Yeah. So total dollars raised, but with an asterisk,
Yep.
And you take out the outliers.
Let's talk about meaningful connections. We're not talking about number of calls he made, number face-to-face. We're talking meaningful connections. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, did this connection with the donor actually move the donor into a deeper relationship with you and the organization, and or move the donor towards a commitment of financial giving?
Yeah.
And someone would say to us, well, boy, that's kind of general. No, it isn't. You actually know when that happens. You know what that is when it happens. If you're just talking about, what your favorite peanut butter is, that's not moving anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't. And I really connected with the donor. Well, what'd you talk about? Well, we talked about the best summer hats that we enjoy wearing. And that's not a meaningful connection. So when you hear me saying this, what a meaningful connection is and what one isn't.
Yeah. Now, if you're a manager listening, I mean, the key here is that you're actually meeting regularly with the major gift officer to understanding, are they working their plan? You would know if you're working with them. I mean, if you're meeting with them every week, you should know if a major gift officer is actually working their plan or not and having those meaningful connections.
Oh, it's important to know that.
Well, we know that many managers, they don't even have the time to do it. And so they're meeting maybe once every 6 weeks or 2 months, and something goes by and it's like, oh, what happened here? I have no idea. And the only way this works is if you're consistently meeting together to ensure that they're staying focused and accountable to all those things.
Well, this one point here, Jeff, is so important. This about being consistent and regular.
Yeah.
And regular, we don't mean every month. A month is way too long. So much can happen. It should be a weekly thing, which is why we keep saying this whole thing about managing major gift officers. And the work of a major gift officer is a very labor-intensive thing, which is why we say you have to be on it, like right now. And for the major gift officer, it's labor-intensive. I mean, they only have so much time to do all the work to manage all these donors. I mean, it's a very incredibly busy type of job.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I want to go back to this whole face-to-face thing. You already quoted that quote of 80% of the gift is getting the meeting. And that face-to-face meeting, that thing is all out the window right now.
Oh, it is.
No one can do that yet.
Yeah.
What we're finding is that the MGOs we're working with are still having meaningful, if not more meaningful connections.
Actually, I think they're more meaningful
than they've ever had with donors.
Yes. Yep.
And they're doing it over the phone. They're having great email discussions. They're
great text discussions.
Text. Yeah. People are giving money over text.
Yep.
And having conversations.
Of money. Yeah.
They're doing, FaceTime or GoToMeeting or Zoom calls. I mean, they're connecting with donors and they're not having to sit across from them face to face. And I think wouldn't you agree that, the future is going to be that there's probably going to be more or less and less face to face and more use of technology to connect with donors.
Well, I think we're going to get to the point, Jeff, where we're really going to finally be sensitive to how the donor wants to communicate.
Yeah.
Like I've consistently said, if a donor wants to meet face to face, then they will, once this thing all clears up, then they will allow that.
Right.
But if a donor's like me, I don't want you in my house or in my office.
Yeah.
Don't be doing that. Send me an email. And so what we're basically saying, meaningful connections can happen on all this other media, email, phone, text,
definitely
video.
In fact, why don't you talk about that survey we did with all the major gift officers we've been working with? Where we did the survey where, where do you see most of your donors? What kind of communication preference do they actually want? And when you look at all those donors that they're working with, they said basically about 15 out of 150 donors really prefer face-to-face.
Exactly.
Seriously, that's a very small group of the complete portfolio that really want to meet that face-to-face. So,
well, I know. And you know what? This is an interesting point here, Jeff, because I do this exercise when I'm in a meeting with a bunch of MGOs, like personally in a meeting.
Yeah.
And I do a little sort of a trick question. And I basically say, look, before we start this meeting, I just want to talk to you. You and I are friends. And I want you to tell me, what's your preferred method of communication with me? Here are your choices: text, email, phone, or face to face. And then I go around the room and I ask, and essentially what happens is, depending on what meeting it is, you get a different response. But the basic idea is there's all these different preferences,
right?
And people do not want, they have a unique preference for themselves, and it's not just face to face. So this is why we feel so strongly about this really dumb idea that everybody has to have a face to face, because first of all, it doesn't match reality,
right?
Because people have different preferences. And secondly, it's a faulty metric.
I mean, if we could get rid of, of all those 9 that we listed off, the one that we could really get rid of is that one. It would just free up people.
Well, that and the prospect ones, identify, discover, calls, and cold call. Anything related to prospects and face-to-face, we'd get rid of it. It has nothing to do with reality.
So, this pandemic does give this an opportunity to make a change. So what do you think, Richard, what ultimately needs to happen with nonprofits to adopt this new way of evaluation?
Well, I think authority figures need to just kind of get on board with the fact that this is the reality of human nature, that we have different communication preferences. And secondly, that the main thing is really about meaningful connections with donors.
Yeah.
This is why we feel so strongly about things like events and things that get the donor off of the cause and off of the meaning that's in their lives and off of their passions and interests, and gets them onto shiny objects like, well, we'll do the run, we'll do this, we'll do that. That's the reason we feel strongly about this. It's not that we dislike events or any of these kinds of things. It's that we want to turn back to the thing that really matters, and that's connecting the donor and their passions and interests to what is really important to them in your organization.
Yeah. I hope this happens. This is the opportunity now to make this change. And maybe what's going to happen is, leaders and managers are going to say, hey, we're actually doing pretty well in major gifts. We haven't had to do any face-to-face. So maybe that isn't something we have to,
Well, I think that's actually going to happen, Jeff. We're starting to see that, in fact, the response of donors to major gift officers and the level of relationship and intimacy and meaning that's happening, plus the result of all of that, the actual money being raised, is absolute proof that what we're saying is true. It's not just some idea that we made up that we just have to go out and promote.
Yeah.
It's not that at all.
Yeah.
It's actually about a human being and how they're wired and why it's important to do it this way.
Okay. Why don't you reiterate just again, once again, what are those 3 metrics that we're really helping major gift officers focus on and managers and executives adhering and adopting?
Yes, it would be total dollars raised, and we're talking about the dollars. If you have qualified donors on a caseload and you have a goal attached to each of them, the sum of all those goals is what we mean by total dollars raised. So you're measuring that as you're going along. Number of meaningful connections, not face to face, but number of meaningful connections, and then thirdly, are you working the plan? And then buried in that plan is an assumption that you have identified the passions and interests, that you identified the communication preferences, that you're asking and that you're stewarding, and you're measuring those subpoints inside working your plan. Those are the big ones. That's it. Mm-hmm. It's not face to face. It's not prospects identified. It's not discovery calls. It's not cold calls. Those don't have anything to do with the substance and reality of how major gifts work and how relationships work with major donors.
Exactly. Let's hope we can get some change happening.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I want to let you know that now is the time to check out our Major Gift Academy's certification courses. Next week, May 11th, we're going to start a certification course for major gift officers, for managers and executives, and we have one for mid-level all starting at the same time. And because because we're all trying to make it through this crisis together, we're going to offer these courses at half off, 50% off. This is the time to take one of these certification courses right now. So go to majorgiftacademy.com and find out all the information and sign up. And thanks for listening, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. Good to be with you.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Nothing But Major Gifts podcast from Veritas Group. Richard and Jeff also write an ongoing blog that you can subscribe to for free at veritasgroup.com. Please join us again next time.